is purely uncensored. It just doesn't exist. Conversations in the chat room are usually pretty good, and sometimes even on topic, which is helpful. But get on in there. Dave and I will monitor the chat as best as we can and respond accordingly. Long-time listeners know this to be true. Always good to tell the truth, less to remember. Well, the station, importantly, is not beholden to anyone. Therefore, it requires your support, your fair judgment in our efforts. It's much appreciated. Even more so if you find it within yourself to donate. Any kind of currency is good, including crypto. Yeah, that's right. But if you can't donate, I get it. It's a much lamented fact, and we bemoan it frequently that our situation, economically speaking, is getting worse by the day. There's just no cheap lifestyle anymore. It just doesn't exist. So, but if you can't, that's okay. Just tell people about the station, and maybe somebody can donate in your stead, paying it forward.
Yeah.
Today is the 30th of May, 2024. 2024, completely arbitrary date. You can catch the cave on the air, on the line, all the time, and on your smart device to grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio. Still hasn't materialized on my front doorstep. Just saying.
Likewise.
Just saying.
I'm looking at
right,
you, Grace.
I hear you. Archives are free.
Free.
Get in there and just, well, listen to your heart's content. Before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast, and for Dave.
It's the Dark and Jung.
Thank you, sir. For myself, of course, the Dark people here in, well, actually, it's very sunny Pemberway, and we would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
I'm still feeling the effects of the energy vampire, but that's sort of abated. It's funny though, just how it can affect you, Dave. I tell you, looking back at it, and how drained I felt, it's quite something. I mean, we don't really talk about this much. You know, we don't talk about. And again, I guess it's part of the puppet show, but we don't talk about the spiritual side of things. Even our energy levels. I mean, we talk about, I feel low on energy, or I feel run down. But what does it mean? We never really get to the bottom of it, do we?
No, it's like the good feeling viruses. Where you wake up and your life's complete mush, and you just feel fantastic for some reason.
Yeah, it's really strange. And energies we ignore mostly in our lives, right? It's especially as they pertain to ourselves. But the thing is this, and this is the truth. There are people that you will meet in your day, hopefully, that will energize you, right? I think there's a fair exchange of energies and ideas, but it's not a zero-sum game. You both win. You both win from the exchange. You both feel invigorated, refreshed. It's a nice feeling, right? And it doesn't have to be with someone that you agree with necessarily. It's just that person, and you just broadcast on the same frequency, more or less, replenishing each other's energies. Most people have no effect either way. You give a little, you take a little.
Yeah, that's right.
It's usually not terribly much. But then, as I mentioned last time, what I like to call the energy vampires. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And usually it's conflict. An energy vampire never uses positive emotions to drain you. It just doesn't work that way. It's always negative emotions. And it doesn't matter. It could be conflict, could be fear, could be discomfort, it could be anything, right? But it's negative. And that negativity, when it happens to you, right? That negativity just drains you. It drains you so much. I am just... it doesn't happen to me very often, I'll be honest with you. It can happen to me when I'm feeling a bit sick anyway, when I let my guard down. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, when it hits you, it hits you. But we should talk about these energies, because it's a real thing. We all feel it.
It's an Eastern thought of being able
It
to
is.
talk about those energies, but in the West,
Yeah.
it's all hokum, it's bunk.
Yeah.
People don't believe in it.
100%, my friend. And you know what? I think it's because there's an agenda behind it, which sort of see, if you follow history, or the path of history, most of us think of the path of history in Western terms, right? Sumer, Babylon, Persian Empire, Greeks, Rome, and then the European peoples, right? The British Empire, the Spanish Empire, etc., etc. We spent very little time, because we don't terribly know much about it. Like the North American or South American peoples and empires, we don't know a lot about that because we mostly destroyed all the evidence. Similar with Africa. And in Africa, I think it's because it's so far back in time that we've just lost track of it. But even in more recent times, we just don't talk about it, right? It's almost as there was no previous culture or cultures in Africa prior to the white man coming and discovering it all. Look, we've discovered, no, it's always been here, say the local people. Lake Tanganyika, right? This lake has always been here. No, we discovered it. we just found it. Oh, look at us. Oh, the same with Australia.
It was just there.
No, you don't understand. We found it, we discovered it.
It wasn't there before we discovered it.
You bet maybe they hadn't rendered it. But the funny thing is this immense, what's the word? Hubris.
Pride.
Pride.
That's a great word.
Yeah, this self-congratulatory behavior of discovering the world. The world was already there, brother. There's people living there all the time, right? But we are so skewed. We still talk about it today. The discovery of America, the discovery of Australia. Australia most likely was trading with the Egyptians. They were definitely trading with Asia, 100%. Okay. All right. The Americans, we find evidence of cross-Atlantic trade. We find evidence of cross-Pacific trade. Well before the white people came along and said, "Hey, I found you. You were lost, but I found you." It's so lucky. I find it's just this kind of. It is astounding to have this completely false view of the world, but it carries through today. It carries through today because of the dominance of Europe and the Western cultures. Now, America, of course, and other peoples in the world are adopting their lifestyle and culture as well. The sheer bloody mindedness of it all, I find astounding.
Don't hold back.
No, look at it. But it is because it is so single-minded, right?
Yeah.
And for the longest time in the 19th century, especially, the British Empire was still, pretty strong. Other empires were emerging. The Germans were trying their bit. Other colonial powers, the French, the Belgians, and so forth, they also tried to, grab pieces of the world, as it were, and they did it under the guise of, there was imminent domain. There was the belief of manifest destiny, which drove really the Americas, and the belief that we're bringing civilization to the rest of the world. There was street lights in Baghdad when the Europeans were still living in caves. That's the thing. And the funny thing is this: during the so-called Dark Ages, you can argue whether or not they were that dark or not, doesn't really matter. But after the fall of the Roman Empire, Europe entered what is now called, the Dark Ages, Middle Ages, whatever you want to call it, where essentially civilization has a gap. Knowledge was lost. People were, falling back into more primitive modes of existence, whatever it may be. But that's Europe. And the Black Death didn't really help either with that.
No,
right?
that was kind of a setback.
Yeah, that was minor setback. But the knowledge at that time, especially for East Rome, other things, that was preserved in the East, as Middle East as well as the Far East. And only after the fall of Constantinople, right? In
Istanbul.
1476, 1492, 1476. I'll double check it. Only after that did something start that we now call the Renaissance, the rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
Because all that knowledge that was kept in the East, right? 1453, sorry, my bad, 1453. It came through back into Europe from the East, though. It came from the East. Okay? And if you're a Bible person, there's even references to advanced or superior knowledge in the East in the Bible. When Christ was born, there were 3 wise men that came from the East.
Yeah.
They studied the stars. They were astronomers and astrologers, right? They were learned men, and they brought gifts, gold and myrrh and
frankincense.
What was the other one? Frankincense. That's right.
That'll learn you.
Yes, that'll learn you. So, and that there it is. This was during the Roman times. Even there was high knowledge in the East, but that knowledge flooded when in 1453 Constantinople fell to the Ottoman Turks, right? And it was really a start of great discourse, or maybe a stoking of the fire that had always been burning in Europe, but it really got a lot of impetus with the people fleeing from the advance of the Turks into Europe proper. And, we shouldn't forget that. We shouldn't forget that. The Chinese invented gunpowder. Okay, it was used in warfare. Yes, it was. It was also used in fireworks and other things. But it took the Europeans to create this massive war machine with cannons and guns and such. I mean, to then subdue the rest of the world, because the Americas they hadn't heard of gunpowder, right? Africa, really not that much either, and the Europeans just fell in and used gunpowder as well as disease vectors to wipe out entire populations.
Oh, that takes me back.
That took everybody back, dude.
Well, see, I remember, just like it was yesterday, when we would use a catapult to catapult, yes, a diseased carcass into the walls of a castle.
Yes.
Not against, but within the castle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Crazy times, Mecky.
Oh, yes, hello, 100%. And yeah, Europeans, I am half or 3/4 or whatever. I've got European in me. we are a bloodthirsty, vengeful lot. We really are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying other people are necessarily better, right? But we're taking it to a whole new level, right?
Oh, and if you want to remember the conflict with someone, you got it.
What? How long ago? 2,000 years.
Doesn't matter.
That's what happened. I don't know, but I know I should hate you.
Officially, I'm supposed to hate you. Remember a deal from The Simpsons?
That's right. But that's what it is, though, right? But it's this incredible self-centered view of the world and world history. We didn't discover anything. We were still taught. This is the history that is taught to children of all nations in the world these days. I mean, specifically, of course, if you're in America and Europe and Australia, but elsewhere as well in these history books. That there's not much time lost on Asian history if you're in America. Mm-hmm. If you're lucky, you've heard of the Long March and maybe Chiang Kai-shek going to Formosa, running from Mao. Maybe you heard about that because the Red Menace, communist threat.
I thought that was War of the Worlds for a minute,
Yeah. But how many people know the Red? How many people know the histories of South America, the history of the Aztecs? I mean, Mexico City is an Aztec city. There's still Aztec buildings in Mexico City. The food, the culture, the music, the stories, this is all still Aztec. The Mayas, the Olmecs, as you go further south.
Oh, the Olmecs, yeah.
And Africa. I mean, the Zulu Empire, but the empires before that. Well, what's the gentleman's name in South Africa? He found these. We had him on the show. Yeah, what's his name?
I forget.
Oh, jeez, I'm so sorry, I forgot. But this gentleman found these structures, right? Which are, well, we don't really know how old they are, but they're clearly built by people of some sort, and they might have been there for thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of years. Who knows? Other things as well. I mean, we know now in the Amazon. We actually, Dave, we've said this from the start. We said the Amazon was a garden.
That's right.
It was a cultivated garden. We've said it from the start. I don't know why. Sometimes you have to follow your intuition. Okay. And now we learn, the Amazon basin was populated. It wasn't a jungle. It was people. And they have this red. I think is it the Black Earth? I think it's called the Black Earth, right? Which is like 6 feet deep, and we still don't know how they made that. It's so fertile. So there were lots of people living there, millions of people in the Amazon basin. It was irrigated. There were channels. It must have been a wonderful place to live, to be honest with you. I mean, a garden, paradise, I would say. I mean, phenomenal, right? And we know nothing. What happened here? Who are these people? Who are you? What did you? What? Asia, Pacifica, right? These megalithic structures that you find all over the Pacific as well, right?
Even New Zealand, the Maoris say that there was a race of people, and they were tall redheads.
Yeah,
that were there. They built everything before we got here.
Oh, look, that's right. I mean, we've lost a huge chunk. But see, then I started thinking, Dave. Oh, dangerous. Because what the Europeans did, and once you analyze it, it becomes a lot clearer. So what the Europeans did during their heyday, right, during the expansion, let's call it the European expansion, right, colonial times, they claimed to bring civilization. They claimed, that civilization had started in Sumer, the two-stream land, Euphrates, Tigris, and then it moved from the Levant into, I guess, the Middle East, and then further into Europe. And then true civilization reached its height in Europe. That was the going theory in the 17th, 18th, and 19th century, right? That's what people believed. We are the pinnacle of human civilization. And as such, they went out and to find new lands, find new riches, find peoples to subjugate, increase their wealth, etc., spread their culture and beliefs. And that's what happened. But they did so on the premise that nobody else was as advanced as they. Nobody was as civilized or learned as they. Nobody could challenge them for dominance. And nobody had in the past ever attained this level of sophistication. And we still believe this. To this day, the colonial mindset permeates the West. We can't get away from it. And then all of a sudden it becomes clear, because you've got 400 years of cultural warfare to contend with, Dave, at least 400 years. And where you've claimed to be the pinnacle, and then people come along, it's not true. We're not. Because, look at the Younger Dryas. Look at these cities. Like Tepe, Amazon basin, megalithic structures. And all of a sudden, this story we've been telling ourselves, especially in, I guess, larger Europe, etc., falls apart. It falls apart. No, we didn't bring civilization. And all the riches, all the wealth, and there's a clear north-south divide in the world. Very clear. All of a sudden, well, we never really had a mandate here. The Boers, they're running away from Holland, the Boers. And they're sailing to South Africa. It's like a religious splinter group. Anyway, quite strict, like the Puritans that went to America. And they were sailing to South Africa. You know why they were sailing to South Africa? Because God had told them to bring civilization to the Africans living there. So
Mm.
they took stewardship, right? Or we are the white overlords. So clearly,
that's right.
so white is better than black, right, Dave? White is better than black. So,
I'm not answering that
therefore,
question.
so we must be better, right? And this mindset lasted right until the 1990s. Really, I mean, it's still there, but it came to an end as an institution in the 1990s. It lasted for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Okay, and there were, there was Zulu wars. The native people, the local people, the Zulus, they're fighting the British, they're fighting the Boers, they're fighting the British and the Boers as the British and Boers were fighting each other. Okay, so it was an all-in, like a melee. And
My grandfather was in
only
the Boer War.
yeah, only one native peoples really, one managed to hold the British off, right? And in fact, he fought them to a standstill, where they had no choice but to sign a treaty, as the Maoris in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
They're the only ones. No one else that I know of. Happy to be corrected, but they were the only ones that managed. They were sufficiently fierce to counter the European weaponry and sheer numbers. I mean, the Europeans had numbers on their side. I mean, Europeans are breeding like rabbits. It's like, what? At least back then, right?
Yeah.
But it's astounding, though, how it's, even today, all of this shapes our view of the world, even, subconsciously, right? I mean, how do you feel about these views? Did you always hold them? And now that we talked about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm not. I agree, and I'm glad we're slowly turning the corner in acceptance of all the other cultures on the planet. I think we haven't been at a point where this has been it, because all the native cultures of the world already had that understanding. We thought we were better and immediately put ourselves above. But how humbling it would be, Mackie, if we lost electricity.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. I mean, we still... I think that in some ways we've been able to mend slightly that bring the divide closer. In some countries, it's swung the other way. I'm looking at you, South Africa. Right? It's kind of swung the other way. So, look, I think it all depends. If we're gonna, but generally, I'd say I think we're certainly making inroads to making this a better place to live. One thing that I saw just as recently as this afternoon was that Reagan speech, where how quickly our differences would fall away if we were, threatened by an extraterrestrial species. I see us having to go through an event together in order for all of us to see that we're the same. I know it sounds completely stupid. We have to have that before we can see each other as equals.
Cool. Yeah, look, but that's the thing, though, right? So the thing is, something has to happen. You're right. That strips away this false mask of separation and difference. Right, and it would have to be something, something significant or external, ideally external, because all of a sudden you're, oh my goodness, maybe we're not all that different after all, right? I mean, the movies have made much of alien innovations and how it brings human beings close together, etc., etc. Maybe that would happen. I don't know. But the word that escaped me earlier was arrogance. I said hubris. I meant hubris, but it's really the arrogance that we had in believing that Europeans were the pinnacle of civilization. Well, I don't know. Certainly, now it would have to be an amazing event, terrifying as well, that would bring us together. But the thing is this, it could be both positive and negative. Could be either, right? It won't be a neutral event, but it could be something really, really, really good that brings us together, or it could be something really, really, really bad that brings us together, if we were to come together.
Oh, yes, I hear you.
And it's, I don't want to speculate.
What would the shock be, Mickey? What would the shock be if there was an alien invasion and they weren't tall greys or tall whites, they weren't grey aliens, they weren't lizard people, but they were one of our own races of people that weren't white? Could you imagine that?
Oh, well, actually, yes.
That would be extremely humbling.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I just think that right now, and in history 70, 80 years ago, people believed that there was superiority in one race or another. And I think that if we were faced with something equally preposterous as an idea, that there's one better or not, that if it was a future civilization, just an existing one that came here and said, well, we made you after us, and they would then be the pure people. Do you know what I mean? Everyone else is no longer a wolf. As we've treated dogs, you've got these little tiny dogs, yap dogs, and you've got these huge things. If the equivalency of that, like a wolf just suddenly getting sentient and walking into a dog show and going, what? Oh boy.
Yeah.
How odd is this? And all the dogs that thought, that they were the best no longer realize that. And I think that would be funny. It'd be very funny to see. I think the humbling nature of recognizing that despite us thinking we were better, we weren't. And we weren't the ones that were made after them. I'm just saying interventionist theory.
Yeah,
so crazy thoughts. Back to you in the studio.
Well, no, but look, that's exactly right. And the funny thing is this: I think we might already have had that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you why I think that, because we haven't been back to the moon with people for 50 years. Yeah.
That's right.
No. So we went to the moon a number of times, and then no, let's not go. Why not? Oh, the Cold War's sort of over, and there's no real point going to the moon anymore. Who wants to go to the moon anyway? Moon is boring. Next. Sure.
Change the channel, Marge.
Yeah, essentially. Give me a longer broomstick. It's really interesting to contemplate why we have done things we've done when we could have done something else. And the most pertinent one here is not having been to the moon in such a long time. And we know there's something off about the moon. We know. It doesn't actually take a rocket scientist to figure it out, right? At all. In fact, all the smart people say the moon makes no sense at all. It's easier to explain its non-existence.
That's right.
It's everything about the moon and the relationship between the moon, the Earth, and the sun is not normal.
And there was a time before the moon.
So they say.
Mm-hmm.
So they say. And now, within human memory, that is, not just because there probably was at some dim distant past, 1 billion years past, whatever.
That's
no.
the point, yes.
Yeah, we're talking about and how would we know, right? I mean, who knows? But it's certainly, it's a really interesting kind of concept if you think about it. The moon and everything else, and what the things that we don't know about the moon, right? And why we haven't gone back, and all the mysteries, the photos, the alleged testimony, the slip-ups when it came to people talking as well. There were slip-ups.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certainly a lot of footage, both film and photos, that are very odd. Are there artifacts or this and that? Sure, I mean, even if you could explain away 99.9% of the photos, even if you could, and you actually can't, then you would still be left with some that I went, well, like UAPs. Gotta admit, we don't know a lot of this. It's a real thing, we just don't know what it is. Fair enough. With the moon, more so. It's more terrifying with the moon because it's a big thing, the moon, right? UAPs, well, it could be like little orbs of light, or sure, whatever. We can deal with that. It's not so bad, but if there's stuff happening on the moon, and if the moon itself is strange, that's a pretty big matzo ball in your it's not gonna do you any good. The onion and the ointment, and we know this because NASA actually employed people to retouch the pictures.
That's right.
Like you could argue, Dave, I guess, they did it so the pictures would be better quality.
That's never the case.
They actually blurred things out. It didn't make it sharper. It made it blurry.
That's right.
If you're employing people, you've given them the wrong job description. If Flea just said, what if we've been secretly in the moon since the 1970s? Flea, absolutely possible, 100%. And in fact, I would say we have been on the moon secretly since the 1970s. We just had to mothball the official program in so as to not to, I guess, tell the wider human community what is going on. I think it is absolutely possible that, in fact, I firmly believe there are bases on and in and under the moon. Ours, others, I don't know. Yeah. But because there are lights, they're flying around. There's lights in craters. There's flying objects. There's all kinds of strangeness. There's sounds. What?
That's right. There was lights, Mecky, in the 1700s that were mapped across the face of the moon.
Yes.
And the only reason the mission was designed, I didn't say go, but the mission was designed to go to a certain location was because that was the place of the most irregularities.
Yes.
Over history. There's not a book on it. There was an almanac, a log of all of these unusual anomalies that's going on the moon. But if you watch a funny thing happened on the way to the moon documentary, that's extremely telling and shows that they were only in low Earth orbit for whatever purpose that served. But Mecky and I have surmised, as you, the listener, would also do, is that it just took care of that, who was the most dominant country at the time, who went there first, and that solved that problem. Done. Next.
And I think a big factor here was an atomic weapon. That would have been one of the biggest differentiators as far as real power is concerned with planet Earth. And I agree with Flay as well that they would have kept it a secret, just like a cure for cancer, or in fact, a panacea for all diseases, as well as free energy. The parasites in the know, they will not share this knowledge for various obvious reasons. Power being the most obvious of all. If you have power, it would take a very special person to willingly give it up for the betterment of all.
Oh, that's very funny. That's funny. It's real funny.
Well, right? No, but it is a special person that would do that. And not a lot of people would do that. They just
that's a very small group.
It's a very small group. So what's happening is it's not against human nature at all. It's very much human nature to keep your advantage and keep everybody else in the dark. Now, when it comes out one day, there'll be all kinds of hell to pay. But and eventually it will. The truth will out. There is no way for it not to come out. I'd be astounded if the truth never came out. It's just not possible, right?
Do you know what I think's really weird, Mecky?
Go on.
Is that when they found a rock in wherever it was, I'm sure it was in Antarctica or something, that was a meteor that had fallen to Earth. And they immediately go, that's a Mars rock. Now, since at the time, we didn't have anything that had been there and come back with Mars rocks. We know that the first lander didn't portray the atmosphere and the colour of the soil and the sky very well at all. We know that to be true, yeah. And that's pretty much all we discovered from that. And this rock that they ended up declaring there were microbes on it, remember that?
I do. Well, what looked like a microbe, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, someone declared that they think they saw a microbe on the rock. And I've got to say, quite openly, if we hadn't sent any machines to test rock types, if we didn't have a huge catalogue of rocks already, how do we know that's a Mars rock? I'm just putting that out there. I did it when they first declared it, and I'm doing it again now. How did they know it's a Mars rock? Find a rock. Oh, that's from Mars. Definitely from Mars, that one. It's like, the front's not supposed to fall off. It's with a staggering amount of AI arrogance that it believes what it's saying is true, even though it's wrong. And that's what I keep having bounce around my head when I hear them refer to that rock, and I hear them refer to the moon missions, and when you see Buzz Aldrin punch that dude who's saying, well, just put your hand on the Bible and say you went. And rather than doing that and shutting him up, he punches him.
It's more effective, clearly.
Yeah, well, is it the same thing? You know, because if I ever have to be in court and they say, please put your hand on the Bible and swear, and then I just punch the bailiff, is that good? It means the same thing, right? I was astounded when he did that. All he had to do was cave and do it. Just cave in and say, all right, I'm doing this once, and guess what? That problem's going to go away now.
That's right, baby.
And it didn't. It didn't go away. And here we are still talking about it.
Hot dog. But by the way, Flea, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just not going to say that on the air because I want to stay this.
Oh yeah.
I want for the show to stay on YouTube. So, okay. Say anything in that space.
Oh, I just got the flu shot today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. No, I didn't. She did. So I'll wait for a couple of days and see how she goes. I normally get the flu shot. That's the one that's not mRNA. It's the broken version of the virus in egg, and I'm happy to have that, which I've had for years and years and years. So I do believe that we went after and placed a whole bunch of stuff there and did things. That one video, Meki, of them in low Earth orbit at the same time as they should have been happily on their way to the moon, it's just not right. And the picture of the Earth isn't consistent with being the distance they were supposed to have been away, because you would see the different weather patterns that exist in the south and on the poles and at the equator and the mid-latitudes. You would see those weather patterns, and you don't see them. You see them like a fisheye lens up close on any part of the planet, particularly that of the equator. But I'm not happy to be wrong. I'd be a little upset if I was wrong and they hadn't already gone and placed the Apollo 11 lander there and made the tracks, right? Because one day, I suppose, We're going to find out.
Oh, well, I know. Like it's. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, right? And there's a lot of material that we just brushed over in this last 40 minutes. But I think again, the key thing to remember with all of this is that we can never stop asking questions. We can never stop asking why, how, when, what, and at some point the truth will come out. I mean, yeah, as Dave said, maybe we're wrong. It's okay. I don't mind being wrong as long as I know what it is. Tell me what it is. I can deal with anything. Just tell me, right? Let me know what the actual truth of the matter is. I'm okay if everything I've been saying, well, since the beginning of time is wrong. I don't mind. I really don't. I mean that.
Because we're flexible enough to adopt new information. I'm okay with that.
It's okay. Yeah, absolutely. I just don't like being lied to. I don't like being kept in the dark.
A truck full of money can't hurt either. But you know.
How much money? Tell me about the money again. Sure. Truckload. But yeah, it is really. I tell you, it's a different thing.
I almost ate some sauce. I got to work on my crusty.
Just a little. No, it's good enough. But it is upsetting to me to be not knowing something when I clearly know there's something to know. Mm-hmm. I know that sounds like double Dutch, but if you look at the world, okay, unbiased, just look at it, and all the things that don't fit, all the questions we can't answer, all the mysteries that still persist, and all the secrets you know are being kept, as well as the secrets you don't know are being kept. Because there are places you can't go.
Antarctica.
Well, that's one. Vatican Library. You know, the hidden room under the Sphinx. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff you will never go to. It's really hard to go to Antarctica. Really hard. You can't actually go there. Oh, my people go on cruises all the time. Yes, they do. A very specific area of Antarctica you can go to. it's like you can go to Sydney Harbour, but you can't see the rest of Australia. That's about Antarctica and Australia are about the same size, right? And the area you're allowed in is about the size of Sydney Harbour.
Yeah.
So it is definitely odd that no one is actually allowed to go and have a look.
There's a spot in Antarctica that I'm particularly interested in visiting, and I forget what place it's called again. Hang on. I think I've got it marked. Yeah, I do. Of course I do, Mackie. Of course I do. Yeah, so it is, for anyone that's interested, I'll see if I can copy. It's called the Kona Station. And
okay.
I will copy and paste into the chat the actual location. All right. Just give me a second. Whoa. Yeah, there we go. So, for anyone who's interested in looking at this location, it is this. It's approximately, if you're interested, it's 75 degrees, 34.97 seconds, by 0 degrees, 5 minutes, 2.3 seconds east. But anyway, I pasted it in there anyway, and they built a Conan Station next to this thing that runs a crazy length of like 4 miles or something, 3 miles, and over time it's completely visible, and then in other times it's not, because the snow gets deeper.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point they built a landing strip and investigated the entire place, and that was when Cheney and Prince blah blah and the Pope all went down there to visit. They uncovered something. Yeah, they uncovered something down there, and well,
Cheney. Cheney.
Yeah.
I find that very upsetting.
Heads of state.
Especially Cheney.
Well, I think he was the only one available.
I find it the most upsetting of all.
But they all went down there to see this thing, which, for all intents and purposes, is not at all a human construction from this period in history.
The funny thing is, I just typed in the coordinates.
Yeah.
And it doesn't show me anything. It's just white.
Not Google Maps. You've got to go to Google Earth.
Yeah,
and then put the time backwards. All right, so I've got one from 2016 that shows it in image.
I got it. There's something here.
Oh yeah, there's something.
Looks like a whole series of things in the snow.
Bumps that are sticking up. And when you go to, let me see historical imagery, then you can go back to a time when it was completely under snow, and then as it was revealed, then you can see they build an airstrip, they land, they pillage it, and then off they go again. It's something else.
What is that? What is that? It makes no sense. It is clearly something that's in the path of the wind, because when the snow goes around it, that's clear.
Yeah. So in 2013, they built a landing strip there to investigate it all. And even then, not everything was exposed.
It'd be interesting to go and see what that is. Right?
I want to see that. I don't care about anything else.
I mean, it looks way too regular. Doesn't look like a natural formation to me anyway.
Yeah. So I'm going to see if I can. I'm not sure. Yeah, I can. I can paste it into the chat room. Look at that.
It's a rabbit fence. That's what it is.
To keep out the rabbits.
It's
too many rabbits in Antarctica.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. These things are big. It's like 100 meters. This thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what hunting on Google Images does to you. So the first image was 2013. The second one's 2016.
Thank you. Now, sorry everybody on the radio, you can't see any of this. If you're in a live show, it's in the chat now. It doesn't help you very much. But there's another feature to the north of it.
Yeah, right.
Sort of
so let me
triangular and a bit darker as well. So it looks like a row of objects that are sticking out of the snow, which go on for a good kilometer and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you come to the top of it, there's Conan Station on top of it, but there's another structure like a rising as well.
That's right.
That is, may or may not be connected to the other structures, but it's a very interesting kind of formation, right? And clearly
you can see the vehicle tracks that are left in the snow and where the planes landed, and you can see what they were attempting to excavate from it. And then that's in 2013, and in 2016 there is another row of stuff that becomes apparent, and it's way longer than the original set, and look, that's what I want to see. I don't care about anything else on the planet. Not a thing.
Yeah, this was said today. That's right. And then the other structures, which you've got there, isn't it? That's right. Yeah, look, I'd love to go and see it. Of course, of course, you're right. Michael Tellinger is the person we spoke about earlier who found the stone circles in Africa, South Africa.
That's right. Ringed stones.
Yes, the ring stones. But it's really look. There are so many mysteries and so many unanswered questions, and a lot of it is being kept from us. I mean, okay, I'm going to put it out there because I'm fascinated by it. Look, Mr. Bigelow,
Mm-hmm.
the aerospace billionaire, spent almost 20 years at Skinwalker Ranch with the government, investigating, excavating, researching Skinwalker Ranch, and not a single piece of information was made available by him. Not one.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Zero. So, what does it mean? Well, it means there's clearly something there. But you don't spend 20 years investigating something. Okay, you don't. You just don't. I mean, after a year, you find nothing meaningful. You go, okay, this was big. This was a big hoo-ha. Let's just call it a loss and move on. Yeah, but if you stay somewhere for 20 years, I can't think of another place, Dave, unless there was like gold or oil or something there. Like something meaningful, even uranium, whatever, that would have held someone's interest for 20 years. If it's a mining operation, I get it that you stay there for a long time because there's something there.
Mm-hmm.
If it is an archaeological dig, I get it, you stay there because there's something there. Okay? Because you found something. There's something there that is interesting enough for you to stay there for 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years!
Mm-hmm.
Pumping money into it, both the government and him.
Yeah.
What?
I'd do the same thing.
I mean... but the thing is this, now the government funded part of it, but because Bigelow is a private, he doesn't have to surrender any information on the
He's independent and wealthy too, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, but he doesn't have to tell you anything. Freedom of information doesn't work.
That's the beauty of third parties.
I don't have to tell you anything. I'm not the government. I do whatever I like. It's my information. You can go jump. Bye-bye.
You can't FOIA me. Good on you, right?
That's right. And look, I've been following Skinwalker Ranch, the TV show, very closely, and some of the stuff they've captured there on video and on other instrumentation is truly phenomenal and mind-bending. If it's all a hoax and they have me on, I say well done to you guys. That's some serious effort you're going on in there, because I mean these guys are in there physically. I mean they show you what they do. The physical investigations. It's pretty hard yakka, some of the stuff they do. The drilling, the dredging of the creek. They went into the creek the other day, up and down the mesa, shooting rockets up, see if you can provoke a response. I'm telling you, it's quite an undertaking. And but they're not as well funded, I don't think, as the Bigelow operation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. But still, they're getting results. Now, I looked at high-speed cameras because I wanted to buy one. in my naivety, in my blissful ignorance, I thought Dave and I are going to have a high-speed camera, and we're going to capture all kinds of wonderful things. We're going to post it on our YouTube channel. It'll be instant sensation, and we will be it'll be like a runaway overnight kind of success, right? Then I found out that the real high-speed cameras start at $150,000. The basic configuration. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So that's another case.
And it's like a company that if you have to ask the question, you can't afford it.
That's right. And there are places in Australia as well where you can actually rent the equipment, but it would be several $1,000s a day to rent the equipment. God forbid you break it. Yeah. I break, I cry. You break, you buy, ha ha. So, yeah, but I thought, because the thing is this, right? You look at some of the high-speed photography,
There's
right?
time.
Especially when it's done in conjunction with paranormal research. There's clearly a lot there that we don't see. That's why I wanted it. And there's the music. Jesus, that went fast. Oh, James! Look, thank you very much for listening to Platos Cave for this 1 hour. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Dave and I had a ball. Don't go anywhere. Something awesome is coming up. But most of all, peace. Yay, 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 yay.